Hello. As you can see, I have guests, two crutches that I have been using for the past 4 weeks because I injured my ankle when I went skydiving. So at the end of the last video that I shared with you all, I was having an exhilarating but also petrifying experience landing, coming down from jumping out of a plane for skydiving. And I cut the video there because I then, upon landing, injured my ankle. So I'm just going to tell you the whole story of how the experience went so that we're not cutting out part of the experience. So went to do the skydive in Miami. And I did it in Miami because I had a friend who was there, and I was like, I had been saying that I'm going to come visit you. And so I finally went and visited my friend. And, you know, when we were planning the trip, which we started planning in January already, my friend was like, okay, what do you want to experience when you come here? Like, what are the things you want to see or do? And I was like, honestly, I'm just coming to see you. So all I want to do is spend time with you, you know, catch up and sit on the beach. Those are the two things that are on my list. Anything else I'm open to, you know, because I'm quite a flexible traveler. So my friend is like, well, I definitely want to go skydiving. I'm like, oh my gosh. Of all the things, you want to go skydiving. So I'm like, okay. Like, I literally felt my stomach drop in that moment. Like, I feel like I felt my stomach turning at the idea. But I was like, okay. I can make a decision about whether or not I'm going to do this. But in my mind, it felt like it has to be a yes. Like, even in my spirit, I was like, okay, I've got to do this. I'm one of those people who, I'm not adventurous. I'm not one of those people, even though I have done quite a few out of the ordinary things. Like, I've gone shark cage diving. I know it's controversial. I've also gone ostrich riding. I know it's controversial. I've gone hot air balloon riding. I've done windsurfing and surfing. I'm not good at any of those. I've also done like, you know, things like hiking up Table Mountain or like taking long hikes that take like 8 hours. I've also hiked barefoot in the Amazon forest. Don't ask me why. Stupid in my 20s. But I did it. And I'm sure there's other things that I'm missing out on. But I'm not someone who enjoys like thrills. Like, roller coasters are not for me. I feel bad for the two friends. For the 2 times that I've ever been on a theme park ride. Shireen, who I'm sure has bruises from that experience. I might have even bit her. I don't remember. I'm sorry. And then my childhood best friend, Gaobaka, who also probably has had bruises after that experience because I didn't enjoy it and I was holding on to them so tightly. So that those 2 experiences told me that it's not my thing. And those were 10 years apart from each other, these experiences. So skydiving was never on my bucket list. It was one of those things that I literally was like, these are my exact words. I was like, if I never skydive in my life, I will be better off for it. I literally had said that. I was not interested in skydiving at all. But I feel like if something presents itself and it's like in front of me in that way, and I feel in my body and in my spirit that it's something that I can, you know, approach in a way that's going to help me grow some way, I'll do it. And in this particular case, it felt like an invitation to overcome a fear, to face a fear around, you know, doing something like skydiving or jumping out of a plane and, you know, facing my fear of heights because I have quite an intense fear of heights. And so I was like, okay, I'll take it from that point of view. So what I started doing from the minute we said we were going to do the skydive was I started curating a playlist to help me brainwash myself and reprogram my brain from what I had thought about skydiving all this time. I mean, up until 35, I was always just like, I'm never doing it. Like, why would people do that? Like, I'll sometimes be sitting in bed watching a video and going, so stupid. And here I was going to do this very same thing that I felt this way about. So I needed intense reprogramming and brainwashing to change my mind, to shift my mindset about how I was viewing this experience that I, in my mind, thought was never going to experience this lifetime. So I did that and it was helpful. So fast forward to the actual day of doing the jump. Lord have mercy. So basically, we were supposed to do the jump on the Sunday, but the weather wasn't going to be good. So we ended up doing it 2 days earlier. And that just also messed with me because I was like, I've just arrived. I'm really just trying to get used to the idea that we're going skydiving in like 3 days. But anyway, we did it on the Friday, which was the day after I arrived. And the interesting thing about when we were there was that this is actually something that felt a bit more like mundane. Like the way that they were running the operation was such a well-oiled machine that it actually calmed my nerves, because it was like, oh, this is something that they do all the time. It's not like they only have one jump a day, like because it's such a dangerous thing. No, they probably did that day like maybe 7 jumps, So the way that it's like clockwork. So the plane arrives, people get in after being trained for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes. They go up, they do the jump, and then as they're coming down, the plane comes back, and then another batch of people are coming in. While those people are going up into the air, there's a bus that comes back from where they landed. The people who had just gone up landed, and they come out, they take off the harnesses and stuff like that, and then a new batch of people get ready. And then while they land, the plane arrives. So it's like literally like clockwork. So there's always 2 groups. There's a group that's in the plane going up, and a group that's preparing to get on the plane. And the plane is moving like this all the time. So that was good to see, because we were like maybe the 5th group after we had arrived. So by that point, we had seen a lot of people go up and come back like happy and excited, like I would do it again. That was amazing. So I bought a video package. The whole experience was actually quite expensive. But I'm willing to pay a lot for experiences. I'm not someone who spends too much on like items, like clothes and stuff like that, but experiences is kind of where my money goes. So in any case, it's our turn to go, and by the time it comes, I felt calm up until it was our turn to do it. By the time it was our turn to do it, my stomach dropped because it was all moving really fast. Next thing you know, we're in the plane, and I'm like, okay, this is happening. Now the plane is like small and it's tight. It's like any other time that I've been in a plane, even on a small aircraft, there is some level of like comfort in the sense that there's a seat, maybe you've got drinks, no, this one, it's small. You're sitting on a bunk, like a bench, okay? And the door is flimsy. It's a flimsy door, okay? And it smells like petrol. Like that's something, or gas. Americans would say gas. It smells so strongly of petrol that it's hard to ignore. Like actually my eyes were starting to water. And the whole time I was thinking I need a helmet or something so that when I jump, or something to cover myself, because I felt like this was going to be an intense experience, because now I'm realizing, oh my gosh, we're in a plane and we're about to jump out. So the plane takes off, and I am so grateful that I had one of the best, I would say the perfect instructor for me and my disposition. I had literally prayed, because I'd seen so many videos because of the playlist I created to help me reprogram my mind, that I needed an instructor that was going to be calm, that was going to talk me through the experience and to kind of talk me down and kind of like coddle me a little bit, you know what I mean? So Juan was the perfect instructor. He did exactly that for me. Like he literally was talking to me and calming me down the same way that my husband would calm me down or talk to me. Like I really appreciated that level of empathy. Like he could see that I was losing my shit. Okay, like there was no point in this process from the minute I put on the harness to the minute I landed where I was graceful or chill about. I was not. I was freaking out the whole time. And I looked like it if you saw the video. So in any case, he just said everything that I needed to know. He put my mind at ease. He just asked me like, okay, what's your concern? And every concern that I brought to him, he gave me, he counteracted it with logic, with facts, with rationality, and with, experience, because he's been doing it for years and years. And in order to become an instructor, you have to do a whole bunch of things, literally jumping through hoops of fire. So by the time we did the jump, I was like, I'm just going to close my eyes so that I'm like surrendering. Like I needed to get to a place where I surrendered to the experience, so that because I'm also someone who's very conscious, like I'm hyper vigilant at times. So that thing of like switching off and being like, oh, this is going to be fun, was just not going to happen for me. That ship had sailed. So I was like, I'm just going to close my eyes and lean my head back, because that's what you need to do anyway when you jump. And I'm just going to surrender to the experience, and I don't have to do anything. All I have to do is surrender and just have the experience happen. He didn't do a countdown. We just went to the edge of the plane, because what they tell you to do is you get to the edge and you put your feet underneath the plane. I mean, even that instruction is such a strange instruction. So I did that, and then within no time we were out of the sky. And the interesting thing was, I was the first one to jump, even though when we were on land, I was like, I don't want to be the first one to jump. But of course, I was the first one to jump, which actually ended up being a good thing, because I didn't see anyone else fall out of the plane. So that was good, except for the solo jumpers, and they don't count because they know what they're doing. So fall out of the plane, and instantly you realize you are falling out of the sky. Well, I realized I was falling out of the sky. And yeah, it was kind of petrifying, the idea. But then I made the mistake. I made the mistake of opening my mouth because I wanted to breathe. And it was a wrap from there. My mouth was like I couldn't close my mouth after that. So you'll see even in the video, the mouth is just a hot mess. But anyway, yeah, and then the rest of the experience was like really good. Like we were free falling for 50 seconds. It felt longer than that. And you literally feel like you're falling through the sky. Not a sensation that I enjoy, but I think because Juan was there and he was just like trying to get me to enjoy the experience, it was quite like I feel like I took it in. Like I was looking around me at some point after we jumped out, or fell out for me, and falling through clouds, like that was an amazing experience. And just like realizing that this is something people do every day, sometimes 10 times a day. Like, wow, who figured this out? And got it to a place where it was so safe. But in any case, then the rest of the experience was fine. You saw it in my video. I was screaming at all the parachute turns and stuff like that. But then when we get to, like closer to the ground, they tell you to lift your legs. Now, this is something that I had anticipated would probably be an issue for me because I don't have much core strength. I don't exercise in the way that I should. Like I've gained so much weight, like just a lot of stuff around my body that I'm actually trying to resolve, that I have been trying to resolve. But I just was worried about like being able to have that core strength to lift my legs up for that long. But in any case, I was doing fine. My legs were lifted as we were landing. And then, we started we got down and then kind of slid a bit. But then, like maybe 2 seconds before we stopped completely, my shoe caught the ground. And that's where the disaster happened. And I actually didn't include that footage because I'm still a little traumatized by how it felt. But basically, this is my foot, right? Like imagine these are my toes. And this is the inside of my foot. And this side is the outside of my foot, right? So this is the inside of my foot and these are my toes. When we landed, my foot went like this, caught the ground, and then it went like this, under me and then under the instructor. So it was like, oh, and the thing is when it went under his legs, he hadn't come to a full stop. So it went under and then he kind of dragged more. So yeah, it was instantly painful. Like it wasn't one of those things where it's like, oh, like I felt fine and then 10 minutes later or an hour later. No, instantly. And I also felt in my inside, like I could feel in my leg. I felt like I didn't hear anything pop or anything like that, but I could feel like, oh, something went wrong. And it was interesting because immediately that was the rest of my trip, dealing with this ankle. So the funny thing was I was still very exhilarated about my experience. So it was like pain and laughing, very strange. But then we went back to the place, I put ice on it, and it altered the rest of the trip, like now I was basically focusing on my ankle and then also like waiting to come back to New York so I could see my doctor and all those things. But that's a story for another day. The short version is I'm doing fine. I'm still using crutches. As you can see, these are my trustees at this point, but they're guests. They are not here to stay, okay? So it's been 4 weeks of being in crutches and like moving slow, which is in line with where I've been. Would I do skydiving again? Maybe. Do I recommend other people do it? Absolutely. Do I regret going skydiving? Absolutely not. I feel like it was a wonderful experience, very exhilarating. It was wonderful to be able to push myself and to overcome a fear and to do something that I never envisioned myself doing. Like that is such a powerful thing. Like, and I still have moments of like, oh my gosh, I did that. Like I actually overcame something and I did it. Not just thought about it, I did it. And yeah, my foot is healing. I mean, the thing is, I did it, but I was ungracious and ungraceful. Not ungracious. I was ungraceful throughout the process. Like, honestly, I keep thinking back on when I landed, how I looked. My wig had shifted. I had grass in my hair. One shoe had flown off. And the shoe that flew off wasn't the shoe where the ankle got fucked up. It's the other shoe. My socks, when I looked at my socks, I was wearing pizza socks. My sweater that I was insistent on wearing because I didn't want to be cold, flopped open. Honestly, hot mess express. Like there was no part of it where I looked good or looked like I was having a good time. The whole time I just looked a hot mess. Like I am not the poster child for skydiving. Like if anything, if you saw me, you'd be like, no one should skydive. But I did it and I actually did enjoy it. And I loved the experience of just watching the earth from up above and also recognizing gravity as a force. You know, it's such a weird thing because we live with gravity all the time. 1G of gravity, because now I'm obsessed with space because, you know, after I figured out that gravity had a lot to do with how fast we were falling, I really started thinking more about zero gravity and all that rabbit hole things. But gravity is something we don't think about because we live with it all the time. But oh my gosh, what a force. All in all, great experience. I would maybe do it again, but I do recommend other people do it. Just lift your legs the whole time and, you know, practice that for a while before you go there, and enjoy. Like it's one of those things that it's hard to explain what it feels like because it's so out of this world. It's such a whoa experience that it's hard to actually put into words, but it doesn't feel like a roller coaster. It definitely does feel like falling. For me, it felt like falling, but once I opened my arms, it actually didn't feel like falling in a negative way. It just felt like, oh, free falling, but kind of nice, which I never thought I would ever say in this lifetime. But that's it for me. Just had to explain that this is what has happened. Crutches, been on crutches for 4 weeks, and I wanted to wait until I healed a little bit before I talked about it. I do want to talk about the things that I've learned from being on crutches and the things that I've learned from having this ankle injury. It's blown my mind. It's amazing that we can learn things even from the most distasteful experiences. Life is something else. Anyway, I'm going to stop it here because I like to talk a lot. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day further. Goodbye.